products out in the marketplace. And what we do is wrap our consulting, we wrap our onboarding, training, support, integrations all around the software products with a different lens, right? And we're looking at the lens from your lens, right? And we say we associify the technology. And what that means is that we understand all of your business drivers. Again, what I was talking about earlier, we're all trying to solve the same problem here with the software, taking an anonymous person into a lead and then converting them into possibly a member. But maybe it's not membership. Maybe it's new event attendees, or maybe it's the products that you sell in your AMS website, right? So all of those different nuances that come with working with associations, we know all of those, right? And so we're a diamond partner with HubSpot. We're a silver partner with SharpSpring, and we're an integration partner with Marketo. We work with those. No need to show Marketo. You've seen that earlier today. So I'm gonna show you HubSpot and SharpSpring. So what we're looking at right here is HubSpot. This is a landing page that's built onto HubSpot. And it's a really cool looking page. These pages that you can build yourself inside of HubSpot. HubSpot has a number of different standard templates that come with the platform. We'll work with you to create a landing page that matches your branding. But there's also some landing pages that are in the marketplace that you can purchase as well. What I wanted to do today is tell a little story, right? With the technology. Think about the way your customers will buy, right? And the methodology of inbound is to match the way people buy today. And the way people buy today is going through a search engine and searching, right? And so in this example here, me being a marketer and looking to elevate in my position, right? So for those professional organizations, that are centered around a central profession, you're looking for new members that want to join your association and elevate themselves within your organization, right? And I always say you either stagnate or elevate, right? So you always want to become your best self, and there's folks out there always trying to become your best self. So in this case here, this is a marketer coming to you and saying, I want to elevate, I want to download this guide. What we call this is a lead magnet, right? And this lead magnet is a way to attract new leads to bring them in to your marketing automation platform, in this case, HubSpot. So I submit my information into this page, and I get this guide in return. And so that's the exchange. And at this point, this is when marketing automation happens, right? So marketing automation will take over and replace the human capital in the sense of doing communications with that person and having a conversation. And there's emails, there's other things that are happening within the platform to manage that contact that we're doing that a human person doesn't have to do anymore, right? So to show you how this page is built, the landing page starts off typically with a form. You can add any of the field properties that are inside of the system. So typically you would see something like first name, last name. There is a form editor. Forms are separate from landing pages, so you can use them besides putting them on a specific page inside of HubSpot. What's neat too is that if I answer this question already, there's a way to progressive profile, which is gain more insight into a person. So I can queue up additional fields down here and bring those in down here. And that will replace this field if I've already have this answered. So that's a neat way to kind of continuously get more and more information from an individual after you already after you already asked them the same question over and over again. Why? If they already answered digital marketing and told you what their marketing discipline is, you ask another question to kind of populate your database, so to speak. From a creative standpoint, you can, it's a visual editor. So all of these pieces are editable. You can select these individual components and manage them on the right. And my favorite piece with the actual editor is the technology behind it, which is the SMART rule. So the ability to have dynamic content and base that and start to speak contextually to that individual and base it on some things that you have sitting inside of the database or interactions that you have sitting inside of HubSpot. Right. So landing page is a way to attract your leads. So you got somebody that's anonymous that may have been interacting with your blogs or your website. They find something that is a lead magnet and they're like, I want that guide. They download that guide, but now it's time to communicate with them. Right. And we do that through workflows. And workflows are always have two pieces to it. There's a trigger and there are actions, right? In this case, the trigger is the completion of that form, right? So HubSpot is just sitting there waiting for this trigger to occur. And there's a small little caveat to that. It's not just if they enter the form, it's if they answer this question with digital marketing, right? So if they answer marketing discipline with digital marketing. So what we're doing there is identifying that audience of folks and starting to develop a workflow that is speaking directly to that audience. And when we're saying an audience, we're saying a persona, right? And so what we're going to do is assign a persona to anybody that said they are a digital marketer, right? And so personas are a way to aggregate an audience around different attributes. And so inside of HubSpot, the way you do that is you tell a story, right? You tell a story about an individual, you come up with their roles, the goals, the challenges, what do they look like from a demographic standpoint, and you just tell a whole story. And that story helps for you to craft your copy, right, around that individual so that you can start to speak to them the way they want to be spoken to, right? With associations, we're dealing with a homogenous group of people, right? Usually the same profession or working for the same company. But because you work at the same types of companies or have the same type of profession doesn't necessarily mean you're all the same or they are all the same. So we can't treat everybody the same. And so persona development is a way for you to aggregate audiences around different attributes and different people grouped together and speaking to them differently, right? So I'm using this workflow here as a bridge to kind of talk through a number of different areas inside of HubSpot. And so now I set the persona to Digital Dory and I understand how I'm going to speak to Digital Dory. I'm setting a lead score here and incrementing the existing score to 10, right? And so again, it's not just email communications that are happening with this workflow. I'm taking work that I would be doing behind the scenes and replacing it with technology, right? So lead scoring is another segmentation practice. Persona development is segmentation in a sense, and lead scoring is the same, but lead scoring is really around the activities that that person is doing, but you can also do some attribution around the field properties as well. But what you're doing here is looking at the person's propensity to buy from you at that point, right? So you can increment the lead score via a workflow, or you can increment it directly through HubSpot with either the positive attributes or the negative attributes. What you're doing here is either looking at maybe some form submissions and saying if a person has filled out any form, then I'm going to increment the score by 10, for example. I can also decrement score as well, because sometimes there's people that you want to remove out of your marketing because they're just not a good fit, right? So lead scoring is a mechanism, again, to aggregate folks and find where you have cold leads, where you have hot leads, and those hot leads are what you're going to turn into sales qualified leads. Okay. So looking back at that workflow, going back, triggered off of the landing page, set a persona, setting my lead score. Now I'm starting to communicate and have a conversation with that person, right? You can hence the subtleness here, the awareness, consideration, decision. Those are different buying stages that a person can be in, right? And so your content changes. Typically, the creative changes too. When you're getting into the consideration stage, it's more videos, more interactive pieces. And then once you're getting into the decision phase, it's getting into, comparative things like pricing guides and those types of things, because that person is close to buying from you at that point, right? So what we're doing here is doing a small drip campaign, send an email here 3 days, send another email 3 days. You wouldn't necessarily do this. It'd probably be a longer cycle of time, depending on, your product and so forth. And so with the email setup inside of HubSpot, it's the same flavor with the landing pages, right? You can create landing pages with the visual editor. All of these components are editable within inside of the template. And HubSpot's done a really good job over the years of improving this. It used to be very technical in order for you to get this to work. And now they made it fairly easy to add pieces in and really create your own sexy template inside of HubSpot without knowing any HTML, right? And so you got these different components that you can bring into, like I can drop a button there, I can add text here. So there's a lot of things that you can do within the editor to really create your own experience. But again, like the landing page editors, there's, we work with you to build out a template with your own branding. There's templates in the marketplace, but you can always create one from scratch. From a marketing perspective, you can send out bulk email, but you can, for the most part, what you're doing is setting up a lot of automation sequences with the workflows, but we know there's things that you got to send out from a bulk perspective too, right? Large emails. And so here is the analysis from that. You got your delivery, you got, your open rate, the click rate. So all the standard KPIs from your actual email sends. All right. So just wrapping up the workflow, what we're doing here is making a decision, right? So you got your branching. You'll see this with a lot of different platforms that you'll see today, is that they all have kind of the same things. It's just a different approach. So here it's, if a person clicks on this link, I send them down this branch. If they click on yes, I send them down this branch. And again, we're doing some management of the contact. We're incrementing the lead score. And here we're telling a salesperson that this person is really ready to buy at this point. And so you got marketing qualified leads and sales qualified leads. And once they hit that SQL stage, not SQL, but sales qualified stage, this is where that person is really close to buy, and you want to alert the salesperson. And so you can send internal notifications inside of your organization as well. All right, let's take a look at a contact really quick and kind of walk through this screen and just show you around. Here is all of the field properties for the contact. That's usually coming over from a form or the integration that's in place that's possibly with your AMS or other platforms. The different queries that they're connected to from the AMS. Here's all the website visits that person's had. You see all the interactions in the middle part. You can filter, form submissions, the email, even if you have a Zoom integration, you can see if they've, attended any of the Zoom webinars, the workflows that they're a part of, all of the lists. So your timeline is like a central area of all of the activity for that person. On the side over here is the the company that they're connected to. This is the deal. HighRoad syncs the deals over, or syncs membership activity over to deals, which allows you to do some attribution as well. And down here is all the actions that led to that lead becoming a new member. All right. Quickly, just to kind of round out HubSpot, here is your campaign dashboard. So what you would do with that workflow is tag the campaign and attribute it to this specific campaign, so that you can see the flow of all the new contacts and how many actually closed the deal, which is a new member. Get the aggregated amount, and then you can see all of the emails that were a part of it, or all the assets that were a part of that campaign. Lastly, with HubSpot here's the dashboard. And dashboards are ways to help everybody in the organization be accountable. Most folks look at a marketing automation as, you hear this term a lot, which is set it and forget it. And I say you got to set it and watch, right? And so the idea is to watch what's happening with all of the contacts that are coming through your programs, and see what adjustments you need to make, either to the workflows or to your overall strategy, right? So you got your landing page dashboard and how well that's doing. Blog posts are critical to generating new leads. And then you have your emails, and then your personas. And what's neat about this is that it comes with a lot of baked dashboards already that you can, spin up pretty quickly, and start to analyze your marketing efforts. So let's hop into SharpSpring. That's HubSpot. Let's hop into SharpSpring really quick and show you the same story, but it's just a different take and a different lens, right? So here is SharpSpring. Here's a form. And again, a person is going to enter this form because they want this marketing success guide, right? Building the forms is pretty straightforward. It's the same in terms of, you have a form that's separated from a page. You have progressive profiling. You can add any of the fields that are inside of the platform as a form for a person to complete. The design is a visual editor as well. You can modify these templates, change the font, the size, the color. There's no HTML that's needed to make a modification to the actual templates. And again, we work with you with a template that matches your branding, but also there's templates that are already kind of baked into the platform that you can use. All right. Here's a workflow. Again, a workflow is off the trigger, right? So a person's filling out that form, and there can be a number of different triggers. And HubSpot's the same, right? So it's whether it's an email, whether they're visiting a web page, whether their lead score gets to a certain point. And so you have the ability to trigger a workflow off of different interactions within the platform. Right? From an email perspective, same thing. What I like with this too is that you can do dynamic content around the persona. HubSpot has the same feature. We saw it with the landing page. It's replicated across all the different visual editors in the platform. And you can say, I'm going to show this piece of content for this specific persona, or you might have some specific rules that you want to put in place based around some data that you're syncing over from the integration or interactions that are happening within the platform. Persona development inside of SharpSpring, and it's aggregating up all of the leads that fit this specific persona. And then you have your lead scoring, where you're incrementing and decrementing certain interactions. And you can do that off of social posts, whether they visited a certain web page, downloaded a certain piece of collateral from you, or clicked on an ad, right? So what I like here is it aggregates up all of your leads and shows you, where the leads are falling and where, so where people are kind of falling into that SQL stage. All right. Looking at a contact record, you have the custom fields typically coming over either from a form or the integration. This is their take on the timeline, which is the life of the lead. You can see all of the interactions that are happening with that person throughout their buyer's journey. You have the memberships, which is not membership for associations, but what it is the different things that a person is a part of within inside of SharpSpring. So you have the devices that they use to visit your website, all of the different emails, all of the campaigns that person is a part of, and showing here is the opportunities, which is, that person has purchased membership at that point. All right. From a campaign perspective, again, this is where you're kind of, set it and watch, and you're watching your campaign and seeing all of the unique leads come through, and then how much revenue that is attributed to that specific campaign. Here you can build out different dashboards. I dropped a funnel in here so you can see your leads turn into actual customers. But you can build out the dashboards and manipulate them based on the data that you want to see. And again, it's all about keeping yourself accountable and making adjustments to your marketing plans. And this is what a few of the dashboards will look like. It's not a whole lot of data in here, but you get a good feel for the dashboards that you can build from a sales and marketing perspective that's looking at the deals and opportunities that are coming in, and the campaign attribution aspect of looking at the campaign and seeing how that campaign attributed to some total revenue. All right. So those are the two platforms I wanted to show today. That's HubSpot and SharpSpring. Really quick, as we kind of round out, and I know we're about to head to lunch here in the next 5 minutes or so, I wanted to show you Spark. And so what Spark is an application that allows you to connect these marketing platforms to an AMS, or maybe it's an event system, maybe it's an LMS system, but you're taking data from one source system and dropping it into a destination system. And so we got a number of different applications that we know that are in the marketplace. So whether it may be Marketo, or maybe it be HubSpot, or SharpSpring, you're adding that application into Spark, and that allows you to have different sources and destinations that you can download data from and import data into, right? And so typically for most of you folks, you have an AMS. And so that association management system will be set up as a source system, and you can configure that connectivity directly inside of the platform, right? So you can configure, let's say, Personify, and add all the DLLs that you need to connect to Personify. And you can also test that connectivity directly through the platform. Right? You have destination systems, which are where you're going to send information into. And so you would just configure HubSpot in this case so that you can import data into the system. Setting up a sync is fairly straightforward. If you can import a list, you can import, or if you can import a list, you can create an integration. Here, I'm going to set up an all customer. That's all the contacts that you potentially want to communicate with. And syncing over fields for personalization, or maybe segmentation, or it might be some of the persona development that you want to do, or the lead scoring, right? So bringing that data over from the AMS to help maximize the marketing automation platform. So I'm going to select HubSpot over here, maybe Aptify over here, and I'm going to make my source a query inside of Aptify, right? So all persons. Right. And so in Aptify, you set up a view, and that is now my source of all the contacts that I want to sync over into HubSpot. From there, I just map the fields that I want to bring into the platform. So maybe I want last name here really quick, and map, from Aptify, the last name here, and into HubSpot, the last name over here. And after that, you schedule your sync. And that's it. And now you have an integration all set for HubSpot. Right? Spark is a way for you to to create integrations, but also manage them, right? So you can come here at any point in time throughout the day and you can run your sync. You can also manage that sync and look what happened in the past, see what's happening from Aptify and what's downloading. You can take a look at all the contacts that are coming over from that sync. You can also look at it from a contact perspective and manage that contact, see what list they are part of, see what deals they have coming over from HubSpot or coming into HubSpot, and look at all the different field changes that are happening with that specific contact. And then you have all of your audiences there that are essentially a way to look at all the different lists that you have syncing through your source systems. And so you can come here at any point in time and sync those up into the destination systems. So really quickly there, Spark is, a way for marketers in our ecosystem, in our space, to add any of the different apps that we know you guys use, from LMS platforms to event platforms, that you can bring into here and sync to your marketing automation platforms. So I hit it right there at 30 minutes, I think. So
good job. So Adam, there's a couple of questions here for you, my friend.
All right, cool.
One of them is, are the fields in the HubSpot persona descriptors customizable, or are they static?
They are static, I believe. They're already kind of baked in. I think really what that exercise is just for you to understand who you're talking to. And so I believe those fields are static, but I can double check that and I can put that back into the chat if they are dynamic. But from my experience, I think they're static.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another question is, a person saw a litmus test button on the SharpSpring email editor. Is that litmus test native and included in the SharpSpring platform, or is that an additional cost?
It is native with the platform. So both HubSpot and SharpSpring have a way for you to look at emails in different email clients so that you can check to make sure that it doesn't look all funky inside of Microsoft, right? That's the culprit usually in most cases. So yeah, you can, it is included within the platform. It's native, so you can test those emails and verify it looks good on all those different devices.
Good. So Adam, one of the things I'm thinking about this as I'm looking at these demos and realizing that there's this combination of these technical processes that really need to be combined with an organization's business processes to really take advantage of it.
Yeah.
So anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, Ron, the CEO of HighRoad, always says this, and he says that, technology is an enabler, right? And really what technology is to help solve business problems. And so we got to understand your business first before we can dive into the technology. I think, if you can have a really strong tool and you can bring it into an organization, but then if people don't adopt it or it's not applicable to your business, then you're not going to see it succeed, right? You're always going to see it fail. So what we always do is start with the business first and try to understand, what are your business drivers? Is it new membership? Is it retention? Is it, getting people to buy more of the books and things that you have in your store? So what are those business drivers? What are your goals that are coming from the board? And understanding that first, and then let's trickle that down into actually what we're going to do inside of the platform.
Okay. So Adam, I don't know if you're going to be around at 3:15 or not, but I've got one of our colleagues, Jenny Armistead, who's going to join me in a kind of discussion thing. If you're available at 3:15, I'd love to have you on that panel as a part of the discussion as well. You available?
Yeah, for sure, man. I wouldn't miss it.
All right, so we'll see you at 3:15. All right, so thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, no problem.